Dude, listen, man. I'm telling you, it blows my mind. I think you can tell how many idiots are out there by how the disrespect that the average person has for trains. I mean, next time you go to a railroad crossing and the little things come down, ding, 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 ding. See how many people get right in the train's face like this. I mean, there's 5 feet between them and the freaking 100,000 tons of steel going 50 miles an hour blowing past them. The absolute disrespect that people have for trains blows my mind. There was 1,300 derailings every year. And people just still drive their car up there, sandwiched between them and a train and a Toyota Prius like an absolute idiot. I mean, you gotta be an idiot. Because you think, you could tell these are thinkers, hardcore thinkers. The retardmaxxer is 100 feet back. Not just because of the train, but also the cartel could jump out of their cars at any moment like Sakaro and just start blasting. And you're stuck, you're sandwiched. There goes your kids, and then the train derails. Now you got the cartel and the train on you. I mean, I got 100 feet of clearance. I could hit a U-turn. My eyes are always focused. When that train comes, you gotta watch the train. You gotta just watch. You watch it. You watch the train. You see what it's doing. People are too comfortable, man. I'm telling you, they're way too comfortable. So I'm starting a trend. That's my goal. I want to start a trend where when you see the railroad crossing, you stay 100 feet back. 100 feet is probably good. 100 feet at least. It doesn't matter how ridiculous you look. We got to really start doing things like this, man. You really got to start doing things that seem stupid and silly. I'm telling you. My girl, when I did this for the first time to my girl, I've been doing this for as long as I can remember, but I was with my girl, and she's like, babe, why are you not, you look stupid. You look kind of stupid staying all the way back. Look at all these people. I'm like, yes, babe. That right there is the idiot. This is a good lesson, so pay attention. You are being stupid. Now she understands. She sees. Eureka. Okay? Before, she was riding the normal bus. Okay? She was riding the normal bus filled with normies. Now she's on the short bus. And she does the same thing. Because it just makes sense. If you follow what everyone else does, you become an idiot. And you teach your brain to be an idiot. You become normal, dude. So we're starting a trend. We're going to know other retard maxers by how we respond to these trains, man. How, when that train is crossing, you're going to know. That guy's 100 feet back. Hi Thumos, buddy. Hi Thumos, baby. How you doing? Good to see you. Smoking a Siriar. La Gloria. Cheers, brother. You know what this just reminded me of? This car pulling up. Hear that motor? I think that was a Subaru hatchback. The worst new sound that I've heard is an electric car when they come to a stop. They have that metallic whir. Just it sounds like a demon trying to escape from hell. Just on its last leg, just trying to get out of hell. It's a sickening sound. It turns my stomach. There's not many sounds that do that. But it is the sound of an electric vehicle coming to a stop. So, by the way, this tastes like Raisin Bran. It tastes like that raisins, a bit of breadiness, muffin, like a raisin muffin, a little bit of Raisin Bran, a little bit of milk. It's nice. This is a good cigar. You really do have to start. You gotta break the rules to realize that there are no rules, man. And I know you guys are on board. You know, you're not new to this channel. If you are, welcome. Welcome to the short bus. We are the short bus conquistadors. We're going in, baby. And I mean, one of the things you really got to learn, and I've been doing this from a young age. I always hated the normie stuff. Like, it irked me. That's the best way I can say. Like, girls get an ick to certain things that guys do, which just really means they're bitched up. Like, all an ick is when a woman gets a whiff, like a little dog, that a man is doing something that bitches him up. That's really all it is. And so it's like, yeah, all right, this guy, you know. When a man gets an ick, if you have the spirit, it's really something that you realize could bitch you up. Something that is bitching you up. Right? You never get an ick. You never get something of, like the thing from the electronic car, that whir. It's kind of bitchy, man. You know, like, oh, we're all gonna be driving electric vehicles. Ugh. You know, just ugh. I don't want to always drive no electric vehicle. You know what I mean? I mean, there's no Tesla short bus. You can't get rid of it. So it's just a man kind of despises it. And ever since I was a kid, man, like, we'll light in a second. But what's that movie? Happy Gilmore. Something about Adam Sandler rubbed me wrong. And it's not because he's a Jew. Maybe it is because he is. But even when I was a young boy and I didn't know what a Jew was, Adam Sandler rubbed me wrong. And everyone, like, loved Adam Sandler. Dude, you see Adam Sandler, dude? Happy Gilmore, the newest movie. Did you see Little Nicky or whatever, the little devil? And I'm not hating, man. You know, I've had a laugh here and there. There's a bunch of, you know, uncut gems and all that, whatever. A bunch of slop, if you ask me. Okay? A bunch of slop. But recently, I watched Happy Gilmore 2. And as a kid, I remember I haven't seen Happy Gilmore in probably over a decade and a half. Happy Gilmore, though, I remember as a kid, like, I remember him being real horny. A real horny golfer. Because I remember that school teacher or whatever, his school teacher, I don't remember the plot, but I remember her, like, playing strip poker. And I just remember as a kid, like, yeah, I see what they're doing. They're trying to get everyone horny. But I was also horny at the same time, but I felt like, what are they doing here? I've always been real keen on paying attention. Seeing what, like, I just always had a distrust, like, for the media and what, like, why is everyone getting something out of this? There it is again. I mean, you ever notice the sheer amount of normal buses? Because there's so many normal ass people. Amen. So I would, you know, I'd see this and I would think, something's off. So it never let me fully get invested. That's what it is. This is a lot, man. This is heavy. God, please help my mind. Help my brain work as you intended it to. Because we can go deep here. So first off, I watched Happy Gilmore 2 the other day. And it started off fine. It was okay. And then it kind of went full TikTok, bright lights flashing everywhere at the end. And I think it was a shot at the Live Golf, you know, this kind of golf association ran by the Saudis. But one thing that I really noticed is Adam Sandler's daughter was in this movie. They didn't have a teacher like the first one. And something was very apparent to me in the beginning when she's walking up the stairs. She's in her little yoga pants, her little Lululemons. And it zooms in on her ass. Now, I think she's like 16, dude. Right? She's like 16. But I couldn't help but notice that the camera was here and it sort of panned down right to her ass. And I'm like, wait a minute. Like, I'm cursed with this. I'm cursed. I think a lot of you guys are cursed with this. We see too much. Everyone thinks that you got to have this internal monologue, that you're an intelligent person. Listen, I can have that, but you know what? I can turn it off. And I also have this ability to just see without having to think all the time. So right away, and my girl said, oh my God, baby, it's so hard to watch movies with you. But she was sick. She was absolutely sick before she met me. And I had to evangelize her. And that's our duty as men. Because men are the only ones that could truly see. They don't have a snake whispering in their ear, lying to them. Men are able to see clearly through the bullshit and emotion. If there is an evil in this world, which I do believe, maybe you don't, that's okay. But we can all agree that there's a lot of voices in media and noise and messaging and psyops and whatnot here and there, here and forth. And it's all, there's an overwhelming amount of emotion and certain belief systems that a man could sort of partake in. When you don't have a lot of emotion, when you don't have a lot of this nihilism or hatred for other people, you're able to see clearly, man. When you don't get swept up in the coming and going, the back and forth, the mumbo jumbo, the hula baloo, you can see clearly. And so now my girl sees, because I made it clear that you can't trust this absolute bullshit, baby. You got to see things for how they are. You got to see the programming. So I don't know what Adam Sandler is doing. I don't know why he'd want his young daughter to be zoomed in like that. Maybe he's trying to get her promoted in Hollywood. Who knows? Maybe a little, maybe something to kind of get her going. But I see it. So that's all I have to say about Happy Gilmore. But it's one of those things, man. I can never relax. Like, it's not I'm uptight. It's not I'm uptight. I can enjoy a movie. I enjoy a lot of movies. I enjoy a few shows. Shows are the worst, though. I mean, shows are really a modern thing. How many shows were there back in the day? Why is there always a show? They got something to show you. They got something to really show you these days. That's what I think. Borderline schizo. That's okay. Embrace it. You got to be different. And so just like the train, just like there's a cognitive bias, okay, which is social proof. Everyone looks up. You walk down the street, you see everyone looking up. It's going to be very hard for you not to look up. And what I'm saying is, it's hard to go against the normal conditioning. The normal conditioning is to drive right up to that train and just look at it and think, this is fine. But trains derail all the time. This is imminent danger if this thing comes off. My family's going to get absolutely slaughtered. Can't let that happen. You got to see things. You got to be aware. Awareness is key. If you lack awareness as a dude, you're done for. Why even have two eyes? Why have a brain if your brain can only think, but you can't see and you can't use awareness? What good are you, dude? What really good are you? So you got to start exercising your ability to go against the normies. I mean, the synchronicities are adding up. I mean, you just see it. Once you start exercising your ability to go against the grain, man, it becomes a part of who you are. You become a free man. And like I said, ever since I was young, I have wanted to be free. I I knew from the teachings, the scripture, that you got to be in this world, but not of this world. You got to be different, okay? But it takes courage. It takes being okay with letting these idiots saying, you are stupid, you're wrong, you need to shape up, you need to stand in line, you need to follow this set of rules. There are no freaking rules, man. That's one of the best things that you can realize, is there are no rules. There are absolutely zero rules. To really believe that, holy shit, man, there are no rules. Oh my God, what are the implications? Imagine that. There are no rules, dude. And so, one of the things you start doing when there's no rules is you start making up rules. You start stumbling along. You know, you just stumble along, and you gain confidence that you can keep stumbling. But I think that what happened is that in order to control people realize that you must give rules. You must make them aware that they're stumbling, and make them think that they gotta stop stumbling, that they gotta start introducing all of these things in order not to stumble and find their path in life. You gotta introduce something. So they introduce. I started to develop this strong disgust for any health gurus, for any people that had lists. I hate lists. I hate to-do lists. I hate you gotta be disciplined. You gotta do this. When I hear it, it makes me sick. I get the ick because I feel that it's gonna bitch me up. I feel that it's gonna take me away from my true power. It's gonna eliminate my spirit and my will. Your will, and the greatest lie that a lot of us has been told, is that we had to be someone different. We had to act a certain way to tap into our true will. When really, the greatest realization that you could come to is that there's nothing wrong with you, and all of your seemingly bad habits and all of your just the things about you that you thought you had to get rid of was actually pointing you to what you needed to do. You could be a degen and still win. But the key here is you had to be able to look yourself in the mirror and not be disgusted. You had to smile. You had to look it into the mirror. Hello, Your Honor. Hello, Your Honor. And you had to give yourself some exoneration. You had to give yourself some absolution from guilt, from shame, from trying to be perfect. Hello, Your Honor. You had to tip your hat and then have a nice day. You had to, and I'm telling you, part of the reason we see so much cognitive dissonance and so many guilt-filled 25, 30-year-old, 40-year-olds, even guys in their 50s, just filled with despair, is because they were never able to be who they are. And say, you know what? F what these people think, but here's where it gets tricky. Here's where it gets very tricky. Is you couldn't get mad. You couldn't get mad. Because if you got mad at other people, okay, this is a fine line to walk, because some people think that you really need to get mad. They think it's a gift to be mad. I think that getting mad corrupts. I think that it's a form of power, but there's a power above that. There's levels, you know, there's levels where it's like the, the Stone Age guy, like getting mad is keeps you weak. And then there's the middle guy on the bell curve that's like getting mad. It's a superpower. You can harness your power, get angry at everyone and get back at them. And there's the other, the high end, the super high IQ guy that, in fact, getting mad holds you back, and you become like those you are mad at. It actually, what you reach your hands into reaches back into you, and then it perverts you. You become weaker. So it's really all the fucking same thing, both ends of this bell curve, that you can be in the world and not of the world, but you don't want to be mad at it. You want to forgive it, dude. You want to forgive it. And forgiveness is a big thing. It really is. You just like ultimately Jesus on the cross said, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do." The people that had tortured him, whipped him over like 40 times, just tore his flesh, bone from bone, just ripped him apart, stabbed him in there, put a crown of thorns on him. And at the end, he says, "Forgive them." I think that even knowing the story, and you'd be surprised, I mean, most people don't know the story of Jesus. I think that is, listen, I'm going a bit, we can go esoteric, we can go deep, we can talk. You don't got to get mad. I'm not asking you to be religious. I understand that we wrestle with science and knowledge. We know too much, we see too much. It's part of the reason we got to return to Eden, when things were perfect, when we didn't have all the knowledge of good and evil, when we were running around like naked idiots. Before we took the red pill, before we took the blue pill, before we listened to the lies. I think that even knowing certain stories has an ability to wake you up. That's an interesting thought that I never had before, is that even hearing a certain story will somehow, it's almost like a mimetic hazard, where the thing that gets into your brain, there's some mimetic hazards that are so bad or so gruesome, so galvanizing, that it'll change how you view life itself. And what I think is that the story of Jesus was such a shock that by knowing it, that you could live amongst the evils and the atrocities of this world and still come out and live to your best potential just by knowing it. And if there is a force in this world that is evil, what it wants to do is turn you against that. It wants to make you hate other people, because when you hate other people, you ultimately hate God. And there is a sickness, a sick sort of perverse liking to rebelling, to being a rebel against God. You know, you can see this in a lot of metal. The other day, I got a real nasty email. Someone sent me an email, and they were like, "I curse you to damnation, and I hope that you suffer." And you know, it never feels good, man. Like, it never, you know, you read hateful stuff, it never feels good. Okay? The human in me, the nature in me wants to say, "Fuck you, dude. I hope you fucking rot." You know what I mean? Like, but the spirit in me sees. The spirit in me sees an opportunity to contact that spirit, to raise that spirit up. And I always think it's best to just never, like I said, emotional men are weak. I mean, that's something I'll always stand by, because I see it in myself. But the way I responded was, "Brother, I'm here for you. Like, I love you. Let's talk." And so we did talk. He responded, and I got his number, and he apologized. We talked for about an hour. We figured some shit out. And I see that we're winning souls, man. We're making fishers of men. You know, like, and it all starts with not hating your fellow man, not hating other people. And I see the temptation. He was talking about he's real into metal, black metal, which I love metal. I'm a big metalhead. And I don't say that like, oh, I like I mean, my main enjoyment of music is like death metal. But I also like EDM. I even like some country. You know, Sam Barber, man. Fuck it if I ain't the man of the year. Or, you know, he's got some good songs. I like some country. It's growing on me. Especially when you're going through Colorado, you're in the mountains. Country just makes sense. You're in the country. It feeds the vibe. It feeds the emotion. I mean, that just is so clear that metal also feeds a certain emotion. But again, you have to be able to stand outside. You have to be able to participate with the dinner without becoming... You have to be able to go to the king's dinner without partaking and becoming one of these assholes. You got to be able to partake without getting swept up in the emotion. And I think metal, you know, I love death metal. One of my favorite bands sounds like really hardcore. It's Disembodied Tyrant. I think what they're doing is awesome. I also like Swedish band Vildiarta, which means wild at heart, I believe. But I was talking to this guy and he was like nihilistic. Some hatred for his father, some abusive alcoholic father. And he was like, dude, there's this cloud over me. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. And I said, man, I took a page from Jesse Lee Peters. Dude, you legitimately have to go and forgive your father. Because the life you're mucking around in, nothing is moving. He said that. He's like, nothing is moving in my life. I feel stuck. I'm 21. And I'm thinking I'm over here having dark, demonic thoughts. And I said, dude, you gotta forgive. You gotta call your dad up and forgive him. And like say, I forgive you, because your dad is out there. And he's not capable of apologizing. That's the thing, dude, in our life, people are not capable. You understand? They don't have the awareness. They don't have the story. They don't have the goodness, the bonhomie to be able to apologize. They're not capable of forgiving themselves. And so we're called, you have to rise up. You got to be the hero that forgives others, because they're not capable of apologizing. They're not capable of forgiving themselves. That's what we're called to do, man, is forgiveness. Because then you're free. Then you can get on the short bus. You're not tied. You don't owe anyone anything. You don't have to live up to anyone else's standards. You can be different. You can be in the world, but not of the world. There's no rules. There's no rules, man. But that's a calling for you. But just like Jonah, until you forgive, until you let go of all this bullshit and all the hatred, until you could genuinely rise up and be a good person, a good man, a strong man, everyone will seem like they're against you. You feel like the weight of the world is against you. You feel like everyone's attacking you. You have no enemies, man. I woke up this morning, I just like, it just had dawned on me. I told my girl, I was like, baby, do you have any enemies? Do you have anyone that you're really mad at? And she said, no. She said, no, I don't. I said, that's amazing. Neither do I. I said, neither do I. But that's crazy. You know, I have no one in my life that I am actually mad at. I have no enemies. I know someone's going to mention that manga. What is that guy? The swordsman that travels the world. You know, the manga. Vagabond. Vagabond. People said that before. You're in your no enemies arc. But seriously, I mean, imagine having no enemies. Imagine being free. But in order to have no enemies, you got to forgive. And really, the story of Jesus is ultimately a story of he was the apology for humanity, and he forgave. And I think what hurts us the most is when we feel like, especially young men, like we feel like people have wronged us and we can't get back at them. You know, that's a big thing for a lot of guys I've talked to. You know, we've had a lot of guys come in and out of our group, and they've wrestled with these things. It's always like the guys that suffer bad are the guys that think that they have enemies, and they're filled with some sort of hatred for other people, which ultimately leads you to a place of hatred for God and a rebelliousness that you live your life, back to my earlier point like 15 minutes ago, of I live in a way that spits on God, that spits on creation, that is disgusted by it. I live in a sort of the left-handed path, which is to mock everything. What ultimately gets us is we know that there's people out there living that we have hatred for, and we can't do anything about it. We're waiting for an apology. Maybe you're waiting for an apology from your mom, from your dad, from your parents that divorced, from someone that wronged you in the past, a business partner, someone, and you can't do anything about it because you know that they're living. And I'm telling you, dude, it may be hard. And if you can, like I told this guy, call him up and say, Dad, I forgive you. And then hang up the phone. Don't let him get you angry. Don't let him get you, in a mood like a woman that can get you emotional. No one should be able to get you emotional. Forgive them. Say, I forgive you, and then hang up the phone. And that cloud will be lifted, and you'll be able to see again. You'll be able to live. But if you can't talk to them directly, you got to find a way to fully forgive and realize it's not their fault. We're all humans. We're all just trying to get through this, man. You can see the idiots in the world, but don't be angry at them. You got to see the people going right up to the front and be like, look at the idiot. Look at the idiot. I got an Italian buddy I play disc golf with, and he always, when someone cuts him off at the road, he doesn't even get really mad. Well, he kind of does because he's Italian. But he always says his funniest thing. He doesn't say, look, this guy's an idiot. He just says, look at the idiot. Like, he just puts him in a category. He says, look at the idiot. It cracks me up, dude. Like, look at the idiot. The absolute idiot. That's what he says. He says, the absolute idiot. And then he just keeps driving. It's like, yeah, there's a lot of idiots. I'm not mad at them. Yeah, there's a lot of OnlyFans chicks. I'm not mad at them. Yeah, women cheat. I'm not mad at them. Nothing should interfere with your cool-headedness. Nothing gets to bring you down, dude. All right? And that is truly how you exercise your ability to be different. And when you exercise your ability to not conform, to not stand in line, to not follow the rules, you start finding your voice, man. You start developing that opinion. Even just me standing 100 feet back from, like, it seems silly, but that's a part of me, man. That's how I start doing everything. You know, why, like, wait in line when I could go here, when I could do things differently? Why not test my power and see if I can push the world, if I can bend it a little more? It's all a game. It's all fun. Why be given a spirit of courage and power if you're not going to use it? Once you start using it, you just become more of it. But when you run from it, and when you're filled with resentment for everyone else, when you hate everyone, when you feel like you have no power, you start also confirming to yourself, and you start listening to the music, watching the shows, and all of this noise becomes, and it reinforces that fortress that you build for yourself, that pity, that resentment, that sorrow. That's what the noise is. It's not always it's not always just to get you there, it's to reinforce the belief of yourself. So you have to not conform. You got to be vigilant in your mind. You have to forgive others. You have to know the right stories, man. You got to have the right stories in your head. So hey, man, God bless you. Hope you're doing amazing. I hope you feel good. Do not despair. There's no need for despair. Okay? Become a short bus conquistador. All right? Humanaga. Chew glass, baby. Breathe smoke. I'll talk to you soon. Go now in peace and prosperity. I'll see you soon. Hi, Thumos. Peace.